Welcome back. I want to take you to a section called the Peace Leader Toolkit. I think you'll find this helpful as you think about how to go forward leading mission in your church. Really, this is just a review. You can see the peace process. It's a process. It's a 4-step system. We've been through this. You'll recognize this. It's just a reminder to you. And then the Peace Leader training goes back to what we talked about, is that whether you're going back to your leaders or you're going to other churches, start with the senior pastor, the church leaders, and take them through the introduction to the peace plan. That gives you about an hour or two to highlight what it's about so they can understand it and decide, hey, we're in on this, or this is not something we want to do. And then train the peace leaders. Either you're going to train more peace leaders at your church that are going to help you lead this in your church, or as you get to other churches, you'll take them through this same peace leader training we've just been going through from steps 1 through step 4. If you turn over, we'll talk about how you train your members. There's different kinds of training methods that we use. One is a group learning-based model, where it's facilitated interaction. It's everybody together at one pace. There's also an individual learning-based model where things like online books and you take your own time. It's difficult to check comprehension. What we've tried to use is a multi-dimensional training model. It's got some individual-based learning, some team-based interaction, and a lot of storytelling. So as you get further into the training, you'll see that it tries to take the best of both and build it into the training model. For global trips, there's 3 major components. It's the trip leaders that get training, the trip members that get training, and then the skills that they're going to be doing and teaching when they go to the field. And so those are the 3 components. The trip leader training you see on the next page is kind of a basic trip leader training. It's about 8 hours long. We do 2 4-hour modules. You can see the different areas that we cover. It's preparing to go, developing your trip strategy, serving on the trip, and then continuing after the trip. Those are some of the big things. At the end, there's a leader covenant. We can give you all this material to help you. And then there's something called advanced leader modules. We found that some people come back from trips and say, oh, we wish we had more on spiritual preparation and spiritual conflict, developing trip funding, team building, cross-cultural communication, telling your story, first aid and CPR. So we start offering advanced leader modules, and then the field development modules for peace transformation. You'll see areas in there that we've done even more training for. So this is for the leaders, the training they get. If you turn over the page, you'll see some of the trip member training that we do. In every meeting that we have over the course of maybe 6 months in preparation of going, every trip has logistics that they have to cover every time they meet, from prayer to financial team development, passports, visas, immunizations, all those fun things. And then session 1 is included for each one is spiritual preparation. 2 is team dynamics. Session 3 is crossing cultures. Session 4 rather is field principles and strategy. And then session 5 is health, safety, and security. These are all things that they all learn together as a team before they go. We have them practice out locally on being a team together. And then they come to peace skills training on the specific things they're going to go and do in the field where they're going. And so those are all the trainings for getting together. So that's this first section that I think will be helpful for you. To have the tools you need to go back and train your leaders that are going global. Okay, so turn over to transitioning. And transitioning is about how to manage change. It's how to transition from what you're currently doing to effective local and global missions to what you want to do. And we've taken this section from Dan Sutherland's book called Transitioning. It's really preparing for and defining the new vision. That's first. Then sharing the new vision, which becomes critical. Implementing gradual changes and deal with opposition, and then finally evaluate results and make adjustments. So this part you want to begin to understand as you look at transitioning things from where you are now to where you want to be. There's also some transition principles that you want to get your arms around. The first one is choose growth over control. Oftentimes as a leader, and you start to get members not only doing but leading, is they want to get out and do things that you as a leader feel like, no, they can't do that. And you start to control things too much and the growth stops. So How do you begin to lead in a way where people can get out and get started and make their own mistakes, but within certain guidelines? And then second, what should not change? What are things that are in your church that should not change? Obviously, you want to make sure everything is biblical, so you're not going to change off of anything that's biblical, but also values that your church might have or places that your church might have, so you don't want to change those. But we say that everything else can change, that we're always in a process of improvement. We're always trying to learn better practices and things that are going to work better. And so you want to be able to create that. And then finally, working with the bell curve. I think you've all heard of bell curve before, but people adapt to change at different rates. They don't all adapt at the same time. And you kind of have to determine who you're going to focus on at the very beginning. If you turn over to Everett Rogers' Diffusion of Innovations theory, that sounds like a really big thing. It's really just how you see innovation and change take place in any organization, is you'll see that there are something called innovators. They're about 2.5% of people who right away, they're venturesome, they're ready to jump in. They're the kind that say, hey, we're doing something new, I'm in. What are we doing? So that's a certain percent, somewhere around 2.5%. Then there's early adopters who are like, hey, just tell me about it. I'm willing to try. I'm willing to be a test pilot with you. That's about 13.5%. So together, that's about 16% of the people that are more likely to say in your pilot phase, let's do this. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have all the answers or all the trainings yet. We'll help you figure it out. And if things don't go as planned, that's okay. We want to learn with you and then help you communicate that to others. Then you have something called the early majority. That's about 34% that are more deliberate. They want to wait and watch and see. And when something starts working, they'll join it. And so that's a big block of people. Then you get a late majority, maybe another 34% that in the beginning, a little bit skeptical. I'm not sure this is really for me. I'll wait and see, make sure that things are worked out, and then I'll step in. And then you have something that they call in this model, laggards. Those are 16%. These are people who tend to say, we shouldn't be doing this. Why are we making changes? Things are great now. And so they're the ones that you probably don't start with. So as you are doing change, you want to, especially in a pilot phase of any change, is find out how can we discover that 16% that they're ready for anything. They're going to be a test pilot. They'll try it. And don't worry about the rest. Just don't worry about it. You can go below the radar screen, do your testing, do your piloting, let leaders come from the 16%. They'll be the ones that start to reach into those early majority and saying, hey, why don't you come and see? Why don't you come with me? We figured some things out, and they'll start to get involved. And then once you have some of the early majority in, you're ready to do something more church-wide with whatever your change is. At the end of the day, you're not going to make everybody happy. There's going to be some who are never on board completely, some of them that are skeptical, some of them that are saying things that may not be very nice. But don't worry about that. You can still love them, extend grace to them, the way God's always given us grace when we've not been on board with His plan, and love on them, but you got to keep moving forward with those who are moving. Principle, move with the movers. Take the people that are all in, we're good to go, and get rolling and let God build it from there. We talked about the pilot phase and the all-church phase, and I want to show you this quick 10-step process to get through those. The pilot phase, step 1 is present the vision and build your leadership team. Step 2, provide a crawl step for involvement in a local activity. Step 3, activate your pilot teams from innovators and early adopters. Train your pilot teams and hit the road. Develop your local and global lay leadership base. So this is where you're getting your leaders from. And then prepare and spread the exciting news to the all-church members. That's what kicks you into the all-church phase. And that first step is present the vision to the entire church. That's usually the senior pastor who says, I'm going to bring it to the whole church. We're going to do a campaign. It might be 40 days long. We have weekend messages. We've got small groups talking about this. We're getting everybody saying, I can do something. And then activate all the church members. Ask for a commitment from everybody in the campaign to do something. Everybody can take a crawl step, and just try it once, and you can get everybody getting started on a crawl step. Then you train the all-church teams through just-in-time training. You know what? You don't have to have training and years of training before you do crawl steps. just in time. They show up 15 minutes before you're going to go and do something, and just give them an overview. Hey, here's what we're going to go and do. Here's who we're going to see. Here's the questions we're going to ask, and don't say this. And that's about the limit to the training that you'll do in just getting started with them. And then after they've gone out, let them come back and report back. So in a campaign, you can have places where people come back. They might say it in their small group. You might be capturing some stories and some testimonies on video. Some of them might give their testimonies on a weekend, but you want to start to capture the stories because those become the best mobilizers for the future. And then step 10, commit to focused efforts locally and globally and unleash your members as the Lord's lead. And that's that ongoing commitment that you make as a leader for leading peace in your church. Now, we've come to the end of the Peace Leader training, which to me is just the beginning of an exciting adventure. And I can't thank you enough for your commitment to, one, attend this training, but second, to say, I'm willing to step up and help lead in my church in what God wants to do, not only in our local community, but around the world. So I want to say thank you. God bless you. We'll be praying for you, and feel free to contact us anytime, and we'll try to help you. God bless.